Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced blockbuster podcast with your host and Offshore Club's expat mom, Alyssa Esquivel, coming to you straight from beautiful Belize, where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, here's your friend, your expert, and your guide, Alyssa Esquivel.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Expat Mom Offshore Club today. So excited to welcome one of our guests for today. Our guest for today is Christina, and her and her family live in Argentina. I'm going to let her share a little bit about her family and where they're at and what they're doing. So Christina, why don't you just start off and just share about what you guys do?
Hey guys, I'm Christina, and I have a husband named Nathan, and we have a 4-year-old Marco and a 3-month-old little girl, Millie. We lived in Argentina for about a year and a half before COVID hit and complications in pregnancy. And so we came back to the United States. But so we're here right now kind of waiting to go back and waiting for the borders to open again. But I can tell you a little bit about my family. My husband is a extrovert. He's an Enneagram 7. So if you can picture that, he's a people person. He loves to be by people all the time. Adventure, would hike Mount Everest if you let him tomorrow, kind of thing. Our 4-year-old Marco, he is 4 going on 14. Seriously. He's an animal lover. He's super tender. He's compassionate. He loves Jesus, and he's a joy to be around. And our 2-month-old just loves to snuggle right now. And so we're in that sweet newborn stage of life. But that's our family in a nutshell.
Such a fun stage. So before you guys came back to the States, you guys were working with the local community there in Argentina in Buenos Aires. And I said that right? Buenos Aires? Like I'm going to say that wrong. Yeah, okay, cool. And you guys did a lot of different stuff in the local community, but really your heart was to engage with community, engage with people and see people for where they're at. And I think it gave you guys some really unique experiences. Sorry, my son's in the background, as you can tell, mom right now. I love all the noises.
Love it.
So tell me a little bit about maybe just pick one person that you met and one of the experiences you had, getting to know them and getting to understand the culture through somebody else's eyes.
Good question. I would have to say that, let me back up and tell a quick little story. A year before we left, I just really started praying for a good friend, because I knew moving overseas, not knowing the language, was going to be pretty lonely. I just started praying, and I kind of had a list for God. I did. I literally wrote them down, and I'm like, God, I want a girl my age that's a mom of boys that speaks English and is not a Christian, because I wanted to be able to reach out to her. And I think we were there 2 weeks. We were walking around some shops, and I was looking at her shop, and she came out and started talking, and we just had a lot in common. She met every single thing on my list. So God has been so good bringing her literally to me. And she's been a rock, just helping me learn about the culture and showing me around the city where maybe people that are coming into the city that aren't from there wouldn't know about. And so I joined her gym, was able to work out with her with other women and do some Zumba classes. And it's been really, really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys too have a unique experience having your son Marco down there and having him, kids have a unique perspective on the world and unique perspective on languages. They pick them up. I feel like my kids pick them up so much faster than I do. And Marco was involved in some local community stuff as well, right? So can you share a little bit about that and some of the little experiences that you got to learn from his eyes?
From his eyes. Yeah, that's a really good question. The saying that always people say, oh, kids are resilient. Kids are resilient. Kids are resilient. I think it's true to some extent. I do think, though, that there's a deeper level there that you have to explore as parents to be able to understand them emotionally, because they're not able to express themselves. Mm-hmm. And so actually for a really long time, he was quite angry with us, and we really didn't know that he was until one day we were driving around doing some errands around the city, and he was being really quiet in the back, which isn't like him. And I just said, hey, bud, what are you looking at? And he ignored me. So I said, hey, are you upset with mom? And he goes, yeah, I'm mad. And I said, why? And remind you, I don't think he was even 3 yet. And he said, you know what? I'm mad because you took me away from grandma and grandpa. So for him to like really, clarify like what he was feeling, that really put it in perspective for us that we really need to work through these emotions of anger with him and try to process that with him. But man, we saw him blossom probably in the last, or probably the first 6 to 8 months we were there. He was really shy at first, and we visited a playground, and I thought for sure he wouldn't go on it because there's a bunch of kids on there, and he was just not one to go and insert himself. But he was playing in the playground, and there were some big kids in the way, and he didn't know how to speak the language yet, and so he kind of shooed them because he wanted to get down the slide, and they were in his way. And so I was like, it was a proud mama moment because I was like, wow, like that was the moment I saw him blossom, of just do things for himself and figure it out for himself, and us standing there and helping him work out those emotions as he's trying to figure out life for himself.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. I think sometimes we think, like you're talking about, right? Kids are so resilient, and they are resilient, and yet they have a big emotions just like we do. And sometimes it's even bigger because they can't express them in the same way we can.
Yeah.
Being able to realize, when you are moving overseas, that yes, your kids are resilient, but there's a space and there's a time for those really deep conversations to go, okay, like let's process what's happening, and realizing some of the emotions that you're having, they're potentially having too.
Exactly.
Even if it's not in the same way, or if it's not in the same processing, they might be frustrated, they might be angry about processes of it too. And, learning that you can have those conversations, you can work through it just like you do as an adult, right? But realizing they need that same space to process it and to go, okay, what's going on? Why am I struggling with X, Y, and Z? They have culture shock just like we do as adults.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's so true. We just, we got books for him and tried to like work it out and talk about emotions, like when he was feeling them, like, what are you feeling, bud? And even when I was feeling angry or frustrated with the culture, I would tell him, mommy's feeling angry and frustrated too, So it was a good dialogue between, parents and kid. And I think that helped him a lot. So
it's good.
We didn't do it perfectly, but it was good.
Hey, I don't think there is any like perfect scenario, right? I mean, because everybody's experiences are different. Every person is different.
Yep.
And realizing that if we go into it with a flexible attitude, then we have an ability to actually adjust to what's happening, and also help our kids adjust, because it is a process. And so yeah, I think taking that off the table, going like there is no perfect way to do it, because everybody's different. So how do you make it perfect when everything's different?
Exactly. And this was our first time, like, being overseas as a family. And so we really had to figure it out together. And it took a while to really like tune into his emotions to be able to help him work through it out. But, I think we made good strides, but I think going back now, we might have a little bit of regression. So kind of, embracing for that a little bit.
Yeah. So I think, you guys, you're about to make the move back in just a little bit, probably. And I'm not sure if you guys have a time frame yet, but you're going back in just a little bit. And, going back with a baby, we did the same thing. And there's a whole nother ball game, I feel like.
Yeah.
So can you just talk, this is totally, I'm throwing you on the spot now. Talk a little bit about some of the things that you guys have started to think about as you take a very young child back to a foreign country.
Oh man, that is a good question. I think one thing that's going to be helpful is that when we get there, Marco will be going into school right away, and he'll be gone all day. So it's kind of, we're down to one child again, like in the home for most of the time. And so I think that might help us adjust a little bit better, because there'll be a little bit more structure to the day while he's in school. But now that I've made some good friends there, I'm not scared to ask for help. If Nathan needs to be gone and I need help with something, I have some great friends there that are able to help out, either way. other little things is that we don't have a dishwasher or a dryer. And so I know with a baby and, newborn clothes and all things like that, we have talked about maybe splurging a little bit and buying a dryer, because I think that might be helpful for our sanity.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just some little things that we thought about that, I think we have a good support system there to be able to work out things with them. So
It's funny, you just mentioned something and I was like, oh, that's true. A lot of people don't think about that a lot of times in other countries they don't have the same appliances in the same way that we would have in the States, but it works for people too, so realizing just like, okay, how do we do this with what works for our family, and also realizing like it's not necessarily what's normal for some people, but it works.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You don't think about those things unless you're put in a situation where you're like, oh man, like, how am I going to dry all these newborn clothes when it's raining outside? And so, but we'll figure it out. We always do.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Again, my hair is doing funky things in the background here.
Yeah.
I swear, it's humid today. You gotta roll with it,
Yeah. Oh, we miss Belize. We really do.
You guys should come visit again.
We've been thinking about it, so we'll see.
There you go. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is you mentioned that you guys came back because of some medical stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think, one of the questions people ask all the time, and the thing they think about is, well, what do I do if there's a medical emergency? What do I do if I need to go to the hospital? Like, is there access to hospitals? Mm-hmm. And just to be able to talk for a second, I mean, obviously it's a different experience where you guys, every city's different, right? Every place has different medical access.
Right.
So I think being able to kind of clear the air and go, okay, this is what was realistically available for us, and this is why we made this decision. Yeah. Can you talk about that for a second? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's good. Actually, Argentina, where we're at specifically, they have great hospitals. And so it wasn't that great medical care wasn't, easily accessible for us. The problem was when we got pregnant was when COVID hit. And so, again, the way that Latin America has been set up is because they don't have a lot of healthcare. I mean, they have great healthcare, but because of the corruption of government over the years, they'll build these beautiful hospitals, but then leave them empty. Not staff them. There won't be any equipment in them, and so they can't run as normal hospitals. So when COVID hit and people started getting sick, all the hospitals got full quick. And so we kept hearing, oh, the healthcare system's going to collapse. It's going to collapse. And so we're like, okay, well, that's an issue. Like, I need to be in a hospital. And so after actually arriving in the U.S., we found out through the people that we were working with down there that the healthcare system actually did. And they were sending people away, to go back home. And sometimes they would put people in hotels because there wasn't enough room for them. And so I think that was a major concern for us with the pregnancy, is thinking, okay, well, if it's collapsing or it has collapsed, like, probably not wise to be here, even though they do have great medical, equipment and staff in the city. But if it's collapsing, we don't want to take a risk. So that's why we came back, really.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Well, Christina, I think kind of to end our chat today, I just would love for you to share like one of your favorite things about Argentina, and maybe one of the things that you guys have learned as a family.
There's a lot I love. I love Latin America. I love it. Me and my husband always joke. He's actually from Venezuela, so he's dark, and so I always call him a vanilla-filled caramel, and I'm caramel-filled vanilla. And so it's like, and my heartbeat is I love Latin America. I love everything that it is. I love the food. I love the people. I love how they do family, their hospitality, just their kindness and generosity. They'll go out of their way for you if they don't even know you to help you. And so I think just the culture, I just love the togetherness, families spending time together, And, meals aren't rushed. It's like hours sitting at the table, just talking and enjoying life. And nobody has to be somewhere specifically. It's like relationships matter to them. Even if you aren't family, if you just meet them, they really are interested in you and really want to get to know you as a person. And so that's something I really, really value there, is their value on relationships and slowing down. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thanks for chatting today,
Yeah.
Christina, and look forward to maybe seeing you guys in Belize sometime soon.
Yeah.
Join us, start a family over here. Have a great day, everybody, and listen next time for the Expat Mom.
For more information on the Offshore Club or to contact Alyssa Esquivel, visit offshore.club today. Offshore.club. That's offshore.club. See you next time at the Offshore Club.